Might need this.
You can talk into your cup.
You don't hear me at all the entire time, just
Slurping.
slurping away. All right. Shaka.
Yep.
I liked him before I read this article.
Shaka Khan. No,
not
different
him.
Shaka. I like Shaka
Smart.
Khan, though.
Hi, I'm Jim. Welcome to the Unbound Performance Podcast, where we explore the world of sports and performance mindset training.
And I'm Caroline. Each week, we talk about the strategies, habits, and mental framework that help us to excel. Let's get into today's episode.
Shaka Smart.
I always liked him. And then I read this and I think I like him more now.
Oh, for sure. Like, he's currently the men's basketball coach at Marquette. I know he famously took BCU to the Final Four a few years ago. Went to Texas. I was at Marquette. But the article, again, from the peak section of The Athletic, the headline referenced the fact that it hadn't taken a transfer in 4 years while making the tournament all 4 years. And
That's a huge stat in these times, if you will.
I didn't even know anyone was
doing that at all.
Taking that approach at all. Like, I guess if I was totally tuned into Marquette basketball,
Maybe you would have noticed. You should pay more attention.
I can only pay attention to so many things.
I think before you even get into the article, just that statistic shows like his investment in his people. Like before we even get into what this is about. I mean, if you just give some thought of like, oh, like maybe why isn't he doing that? Like he's putting into the people that he picked, that he wants, and sticking with them and building that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Well, at some point in the article, it talked about all the pictures of he and his players on the wall, and they were all like,
yep,
they weren't at the beginning or the end. They were all in the middle.
In the middle, which he said was the best part or the good part. Or
speaks to exactly what you were talking about, that the journey is what's important. And if people are always coming and going, year by year, that's a short journey.
Yep.
You don't get to, we've talked about people we know who've gotten out of coaching at that level because it's very difficult to hold on to the reasons you got into coaching in the first place. At every turn, people want more money or they leave. They're not getting enough playing time, whatever. They're 1 year and gone.
Well, I think we haven't really gotten to the article yet, but the bulk of this article, from my takeaway, was the investment and the time it takes to really learn your players and love them the right way and care for them the right way and coach them the right way, which that makes it challenging when, and not that the coach shouldn't start immediately, but when you know that a year from now or 6 at the end of the season, that kid might bail, it makes it challenging for the coach to start building that, because it's not always just in one season. It could be, first season we struggled a little bit, and then by the second season we figured it out, or off season. And it really, for those coaches who do want to invest the time and the effort and the emotional aspect into their people, the rapid transfer makes it really challenging to get to the point where you're making progress in that. And that's kind of sad for the coaches who want to coach that way.
Yeah. And, we're not here to say that everybody should abandon the portal. But I thought this was a really different take on the whole thing at a successful place. They make the tournament.
Yeah, it's not like it's some little school that's just focused on this only. They're succeeding.
But they don't really admit they don't have the resources financially to like, all right, we're going to go outbid Ohio State for someone.
Yeah, you just
that's
can't.
Not happening. And finding a way they can be successful in a way that is meaningful to them takes real intention, which I talked a lot about his intentionality in the article. So I thought it was a very cool article.
Yeah, it sort of opened up talking about Shaka more specifically and how he was a really anxious person.
Yep.
And he read that book, The Untethered Soul or Untethered Mind, the Untethered Soul. he started practicing some of these skills of waking up in the morning and, meditating and getting in the sunlight and all these, sort of daily habits to sort of calm himself. And he learned that, his anxiousness, he used to try to keep busy to ignore it, but then actually with the stillness and the quiet was what helped resolve that. Later on, the article go on to talk about that the author of this article, or whoever interviewed him, I don't even know what the format of this was saying that he was like, Shaka was the most like dedicated to like a lifetime of learning and bettering himself. And I don't think it's any mistake that progression of him stepping in and learning about himself and what's important and what helps him has now bled into the relationships and the way that he builds trust and unity and oneness with his team and his players.
Yeah, it was cool to see he was reading books by Michael Singer and Eckhart Tolle and heck, even the guy who wrote the article said some of the stuff Smart was saying reminded him of what he'd read in the Inner Game of Tennis.
Yeah. All these books were ringing a bell. I was like, oh, yep.
Bing. So I really admired his passion and drive for improvement, like on a personal level. And he's always trying to get better. He recently had called a former coach who's now an executive coach and asked him, what am I missing?
Yep.
And it's a really good series of conversations. But I think the reason he's trying to always get better so that he can better serve himself and his players, staff, family, friends. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. But I really admired, and he, you mentioned that he starts every day. He said he used to start every day just like boom, jump out of bed, floor it.
Yeah.
And that was not doing it for him. And I know I spent a good amount of time in my life doing the same thing. And I was not even sharp enough to be aware that this is a bad plan. But the fact that he does the journaling, the meditating, visualization, the walk in the sun, all these tools that are out there that everybody talks about. I mean, I just read Dan Hurley's book, which is great. And he talks all about his meditation process, his journaling. Like, you just never heard anybody at like that level, that kind of coaching talk about any of this before. And now it's everywhere you turn. So I know we're always begging people like to do these things.
Yep.
And yet, I don't know, to me, I always go back to that Trevor Moawad quote, success leaves clues. And all these people are
just ignoring the clues.
Yeah. I mean, even like one of my clients I met with recently, I mean, details all about his journaling, meditation, walking. He's a stud. So it doesn't matter. Like he's not a Division I basketball coach in the business world. But I think for anyone out there, the message in this part of the article would be get on the train and really be intentional about becoming the best version of yourself. Like, it's just much better way to go about it.
I think it can be overwhelming to think, okay, now I got to journal and I got to walk and I got to meditate and all these things. But I think it can be one thing at a time. Pick one and start mastering that. But also, I think with this stuff, like, you can never go you're never deep enough. Like, it's never done. It's never finished. You're never at the finish line. They talked about Shaka having this culture document, which is a 27-page roadmap for a program.
That never ends.
He says it's a living document. It's never finished, updated each year, which that's one of those things that, like, it's not like he created it one year when he had a successful team and they went off this and this is what we do going forward. It's, hey, this is what we did and it worked. And now this year, does it still apply? Do we need to tweak it? And I think that's one of those, speaks to his awareness of a people group and of individuals. And before we hopped on, we talked about this, but he said he had on the back of his door a sign that says, "Why can't you love me right?" It's a quote from a story you heard from George Raveling. Is that how you say his last name?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yep. Thank you. The pioneering basketball coach who later became an executive at Nike. There was once a player who told Smart, who opened himself to a coach who felt distant, "You say you love us, but why can't you love me right?" And that just resonated to him, that if he's going to tell his players he loves them, he needs to do it in the way that they feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes identifying. And he goes on to talk about, he sat down with his mom in his apartment.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And went down like player by player and like researched their past and their family situation and their history, and tried to identify how they can love that player based on their past and their history. And that's, just hearing about that story, that's love for somebody.
Yep.
That's not just hey, in the last couple of years, what's worked for you? That is like studying somebody from beginning to end. And that's the unconditional love aspect that I know often goes ungiven in sports. But when you hear about this and you see that it's not just, like you said, some coach at some little school that's not on the map.
Right.
It's a big one that's notable and it's working. So like you said, like, why would you ignore this kind of stuff when it's working?
Yeah, well, never mind. Like, we've talked about meaning and purpose till we're blue in the face here. But the people part of the whole thing, that is it. Like,
yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's in college basketball or your business or
people, that's just life.
And the fact that you can intentionally try to figure out ways to connect more effectively with the people in your world, on your team or whatever, in your office, that's very powerful and meaningful. And that's going to guarantee that people don't feel like they're just a thing to be used and then cast aside when you're finished with them. And so there's that part of just the human condition of all this. And, it's why he wanted to be a coach in the first place. But this is what keeps him doing it. Because, we've talked about people who want to get out of, especially at that level of Division I athletics, where it's just at every turn, when your season's over, you're hopping on a plane to go raise more money so you can pay more players more money.
Right.
And which I'm not criticizing that.
The fact that it's the process.
That is just part of the deal now.
Yeah.
And, and to your earlier point, I talked to someone recently who joked, that he had kind of let drop his meditation journaling thing. And it's noticeable. Like, so I'd say I don't have time to do it.
Time to not do it.
That's, it's like, I know this helps every day be better.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to find, it doesn't have to be some long drawn out process either. It can be a few minutes for each one. And then you can kind of, we've talked about it before, kind of practice returning to your breath to have a kind of a calming, detach, pause moment through the day. But I really admired him.
Yeah.
When by the time I finished that article, I thought he was obviously sharp. He's a real young coach when I first became aware of him. And he was, obviously into it and good at what he does. But I hadn't really read a lot on him until this article. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So turned me into a Marquette basketball fan. It was just like reading Dan Hurley's book made me really appreciate
him.
And for all the same kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
Like, he loves his players.
Yeah.
And this Shaka Smart, he loves his players.
Yeah.
And
that's the kind of coach you want to play for. That's the kind of coach you want to stick around for 4 years and you want to work hard for. In any relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or parent and child relationship or coaching and athlete relationship, both parties want to feel worthy and useful and loved and not just as a tool. And when I say useful, I don't mean used like a tool, but beneficial to what they bring to the table for you in that relationship. And it's important to reinforce why you are valuable to me and why, not just I love you, but why, what you bring for me, because it's nice to know that what you're doing works well. Again, both parties in any relationship situation that, when it's obvious that players or coaches love their players and players love their coaches, you're going to ensure a little bit more longevity in that in the team period, in the success of that team, in who those people are going to be in the future when they move on from basketball or not. That's an investment.
It's whatever. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I loved the piece and really admire the way he's going about things in a world that can seem like cold and cynical or whatever.
For sure.
You have people at every turn who are doing everything they can to buck that, fight against it, and create a place that is beautiful and meaningful, where people can feel part of something greater than themselves and connected to each other.
More could you want?
Can't imagine.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Unbound Performance Podcast.
Your support helps us continue to build our community. If you're enjoying this content, please like, subscribe, and share.